receiving patients. Those were gunshot wounds to extremities, chest, abdomen, all in rather stable condition. We activated certain resources that we have. This is unfortunately things that we train for, although do not expect to occur, but we were prepared and activated certain resources. We in total received 6 patients. All 6 were in stable condition upon arrival. 3 of them did go to the operating room and have since out of the operating room. All 6 of them today are in stable condition, one which is in fair condition given a serious injury. We do feel that all will make a full recovery. 2 of them are possibly going home today, which we're extremely proud of. Overall, like I said, unfortunately we do have to prepare for these. I can't speak enough for the team that's here and the team that's not here. Our community, especially our medical community, is extremely close. Everything from our law enforcement, our EMTs, firefighters, FSU, is a really big part of this hospital. And so that relationship, as well as the relationship between our nurses, our techs, our doctors, really is why things here went very smoothly. And I am extremely proud of all of them. We will open up for some questions. Otherwise, that's it.
I have a question. Marcus,
yes, sir.
News Nation. In your line of business, is everything. Can you talk about the work of the EMS responders getting patients to you quickly, and then can you, in any sort of way, lay out what happens when you receive a sort of I don't know if you're going to call it a mass incident, but some sort of influx of patients from one area, how that works?
Yes, we have systems in place. We are communicating right away with law enforcement and EMS. The biggest part of this is you don't know how many patients you're going to receive. So
Florida Live starts now.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon live on Fox Local, Fox13News.com, Fox35Orlando.com, and also on YouTube. Today we are continuing to follow up and on the tragedy in Tallahassee, and as we learn more about the impact of this, as we learn more about the suspect in this, a lot of different angles we have for you today as we continue to dig in more to this tragedy that occurred yesterday afternoon. We're going to have the current conditions of the surviving patients, some positive and encouraging news from hospital officials just a little bit ago. We'll have that for you in a little bit. We're going to talk with Fox 13's Evan Axelbank about what this tragedy means for several bills being debated at the state capitol when it comes to gun safety legislation, when it comes to cell phones in schools. So that's one of the bills as well. We're going to hear about how to deal with the emotional toll of the tragedy. We know this has far-reaching impacts. We're going to hear more about that coming up in a little bit. We're also going to see how the campus community in Tallahassee is reacting. We know there's a growing memorial on the campus of Florida State University today, but we want to begin with some new details about the shooter's movements in the hours and moments leading up to the shooting yesterday. Some new information from Tallahassee police coming just in the last little bit. I want to break down this timeline for you. According to Tallahassee police, the suspect, Phoenix Ikner, arrived at an FSU parking garage around 11 o'clock in the morning. This would have been yesterday morning. They said he stayed in that area for about an hour, moving in and out of his car. Then at 11:51, Tallahassee police say that is when Ikner left the parking garage. It was about 5 minutes later, between 11:56 and 11:57, when police believe the first shot was fired. They say Ikner walked in and out of the buildings, the green spaces there by the student union. They say that was when he was firing that handgun. By 11:58 a.m., the 911 calls began to come in. We got multiple 911 calls, and as those calls are coming in, they say nearby police officers were already responding at that same time, ostensibly hearing those gunshots and potentially other noise as well. At noon, the suspect was shot by responding officers and taken into custody. So the entire incident, police now saying, lasted less than 5 minutes. Still, in that time, we know the suspect was able to injure 8 people, 2 people killed. We know that 6 patients being treated at the hospital, all with gunshot wounds, 2 possibly going home today, that being the update. But obviously, still a lot of emotion and a very somber feeling on the campus of Florida State University today. Fox 35's Marie Ettinger had been there since yesterday afternoon. Ended up leaving this morning. We had the chance to speak with her just a little bit ago via Zoom as she on her way back from Tallahassee. And here's what she told us about the feeling on campus today.
People are still processing. We saw a bunch of people head to a memorial that's just outside the student union where the shooting happened. So this is kind of on the back side. There's a smaller memorial towards the front. But the video you're seeing there, that's something we took a couple of hours ago. Even since then, it's maybe doubled in size. As the sun came up, there were just hundreds, honestly, hundreds of students who went to pay their respects, and they left flowers, they left teddy bears, some left notes. Some just went and said a few words or shed a few tears over the memorial there. But I did actually get to talk with several students about how they were feeling. And one girl was talking about how at this point she wants to take action. It's not just about feeling sad or feeling scared. For her, she does want to see some change. So we do have a clip of the conversation I had with her earlier today, if we're able to roll that.
That's all I can really explain. You never want to think that the place that you call home would have this happen. I mean, it's heartbreaking, it's scary. You know, it's like a piece of the innocence of the school has been taken away from us. So it's just like, with all this going on, and it's just hard to think about and trying to continue forward as a school and together as a community.
What made you want to come out this morning?
I wanted to pay my respects to see and everything, you know, like I go here, this is my place. So it's just, I wanted to see, you know, we lost 2 people, and even if they weren't students, they were still people near and dear to the Florida State community. So it's just coming here to pay my respects and honestly just seeing the sense of community around here too, and seeing how everyone can come together in this time.
And then speaking of that community, what's it like for you seeing the memorial that's already been set up?
It's really emotional, I won't lie. Like you don't really realize it. Like you see pictures, you know, you see it posted everywhere, but then when you come here and like you see everyone here standing here, and all the flowers, it's just like, it's really profound at how huge this has affected the school. So
we've been talking this morning and last night about how students go through drills, they prepare for the potential for an active shooter. It's so different actually living it.
Mm-hmm. Truly, yeah. You never really know how you're going to react in that situation. You know, you can think like I would help or I would scream, or you just never truly know. So, you know, having these drills, I feel like prior to what everyone has gone through in high school, being here now, you kind of have an understanding, but with, you know, no locks on the doors and so much that could have helped prevent could have been taken. But I just huge thank you to the FSU PD and everyone involved, because with how severe the situation was, and, you know, with everything that still happened, it could have been a lot worse too. So
is that something you would want to see as locks on the doors?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've been posting petitions, you know, about getting locks on the new doors and everything, because, you know, a lot of my friends were in classrooms without locks, and it's scary to think about that. The only thing barricading them between a gun and a door is some chairs. So it would be really nice to see that change.
So I want to talk about a couple of things that she brought up there. She was not the only one who talked to me about those petitions to get locks on the doors. A couple of people brought that up. So some people said they were in classrooms. Another girl I talked with said she was in a bathroom. That's where she went to hide when all this happened. And she was saying that didn't lock either. And so there were classrooms where you could maybe push some furniture in front of the door to try to barricade it. But for the bathroom, I mean, what are you supposed to use? How do you feel safe? And then the other thing she brought up were the drills. We chatted about that some. Some people I talked with said yes, they did do the active shooter drills in high school, or at least that was the most recent time they did them. But for one, the students I was talking with about this in particular said they're juniors now, so they haven't done those drills in a few years. And when they did, that setup was for a high school or for a grade school. And being on a college campus is a completely different setup, a completely different environment. So one of the things they train you for is to lock the doors. And if you can't do that, that's one thing. Also, there's so much more open space between where you have to run, where you have to try to get to in order to reach a safe location or somewhere where you even could barricade yourself inside. So they said they'd like some more communication about having safe zones, or if there's a particular area that students should run to. If you're here, should you go here? Should you run at all? So they just said that those active shooter drills are no longer applicable for the environment they're in now, and they want locks on doors. Garrett?
Interesting to see what happens moving forward with that. I'm curious, Marie, because I know when you first got there yesterday, the full kind of scale and extent of this wasn't really known, and now I would imagine as you're have left the campus the morning after, things have started to kind of settle in, and the what happened, I would imagine, starting to actually hit many of these people on campus. And I'm just curious about how what the atmosphere is like there this morning, as you mentioned, the large number of students who have been gathering at that makeshift memorial.
So it's interesting you bring that up, because a few students I talked with today said that actually the memorial is what solidified it for them, that throughout the night, even though they knew what happened, even though a lot of them were there, it still hadn't sunk in, and they just didn't know how to feel or how to process. It's such a complicated thing. I mean, are you scared? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you all of these things? Some people said they were at this point a little bit happy that they had everyone coming together and they had their other students there who they could relate to, and that kind of uplifted them. So it's this huge, huge complex thing that they're trying to digest. And several people said it didn't feel real yet until they reached the memorial and saw how many people are feeling that same way, or how many people are in that same boat. Another thing I was chatting with one student about was this feeling of, how do you move forward? How do you feel happy? You start to maybe catch yourself laughing with a friend, and then you feel bad because it's a somber, sad time. Hopefully having everyone together at this memorial could help with that feeling as well. And there is also a vigil tonight at 5 p.m. That's at the campus green by the football stadium. We did go by there earlier. It's this gigantic cleared out space with a massive statue, so that people know where to meet up, and that there's plenty of room for anyone who might want to go and pay their respects at that vigil tonight.
That vigil at 5 p.m. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back after this. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is time now for our Tampa connection, and for that today, we go to Fox 13 Tampa Bay anchor and reporter Matthew McClellan. And Matthew, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon here on Florida Live.
Anytime, Garrett. So it's, as you know, a lot of families in Tampa Bay still processing yesterday's shooting at Florida State University. Like so many other communities across the state, we've got a lot of people with kids who were on campus at the time, also a lot of alumni here. So this tragedy really hitting home for a lot of folks, including a well-known local mental health advocate. Her name is Clara Reynolds, and she runs the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, Garrett. She's a proud FSU grad. She joined us live on Good Day Tampa Bay this morning, talking about the emotional impact tragedies like this can have, even from a distance. Let's listen.
So I think for all of us today, maybe yesterday, but then also again this morning, we may be feeling a lot of heightening anxiety and concern and worry right now. And those feelings will probably stick with us for the next few days.
So Reynolds says it's critical right now for parents to check in with their kids, especially those in high school or in college.
First of all, make sure that you are talking to them. Ask them, how are you feeling? Try to dispel maybe any myths or rumors, anything that social media has put out there that's not factual, and then really try to talk about feelings. A lot of kids may not have the language or may not feel comfortable talking about feelings, but this is a good time for you to be vulnerable yourself. Talk about how this made you feel, and then keep that door open, because again, feelings are pretty heightened right now. We should start to see people get back to an equilibrium maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I would say that if you have a child that's at FSU or a child at any university or high school, and they're really talking about fear and a lot of anxiety, validate those feelings. Allow them to feel those feelings for the next few days. Don't make any big decisions. Don't do anything large right now. Just allow them to express those feelings, because Russell, we all know that this was an unspeakable trauma, and trauma, we know, does not go away. We have to talk about it. So allow kids that space to talk about it. Parents, family members, neighbors, talk about it, and hopefully those high emotion feelings will start to dissipate Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. If they still are pretty spiked, that may be time to reach out to a professional. You can certainly call us at the Crisis Center by dialing 211, but you may want to talk to a physician or therapist to help you really deal with those feelings and develop the coping mechanisms so that you can move forward.
She also spoke candidly, Garrett, about how this shooting affected her both as a mental health professional and also as an FSU alum.
So I will tell you, I have had to practice a lot of what I'm telling everybody this morning, talking to colleagues, talking to my husband, touching base with my son and his girlfriend at University of Florida, just reaching out, and then also reminding myself that there's a reason why this is on the news this morning. This is still a unique situation. This doesn't happen every day at Florida State University. And so I have to keep that in perspective, as I am also pretty heightened myself about what transpired yesterday. What I found myself saying yesterday and even this morning as I was getting ready to come to the studio, just reaching out, just letting folks know my heart is with you. I'm here to listen. Are you okay? How's your child? Making sure that I keep myself available for that help, but also recognizing I'm experiencing it too. So trying to place some boundaries for myself, but also making sure that I am reaching out and can be that listening ear if somebody just needs to vent their fears and their frustrations.
So my takeaway, Garrett, from that conversation was that even the helpers sometimes need help. So if you are struggling or you know somebody who is, the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, open around the clock. You just got to call 211 to get connected with a counselor anytime, day or night. I'll tell you, Garrett, that Clara is somebody who is a close friend of this station, Fox 13 in Tampa. We talk to her all the time. She's helped us get through a lot of crises and tragedies, mass shootings like this one yesterday, and has not only helped us navigate as we cover these type things, but has helped us as we kind of deal with the emotions that everybody else is feeling. So she's been a tremendous resource, and was really kind of heartening to hear that she too is kind of going through some of these same things as a helper that the rest of us are.
Yeah, certainly normal to be experiencing those things, and we know it's going to be a process for so many people. And even though this tragedy occurred in Tallahassee, we know it has far-reaching impacts all across our state. So I think a lot of good stuff there from her to keep in mind and just keep things in perspective, because we know it's going to be a challenging days, weeks, and even months ahead for a lot of folks. So.
Yeah, and keep the lines of communication open. Talking is a good thing.
Yeah. All right, Matthew McClellan, Fox 13 Tampa Bay anchor and reporter. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon for our Tampa Connection.
Anytime, Garrett.
We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us this afternoon as we continue to track a number of impacts stemming from the tragedy in Tallahassee, the shooting on the Florida State University campus yesterday. And we're also looking to the state legislature, also in Tallahassee, and how what happened yesterday could change the conversation surrounding some bills that are moving through the legislature right now. And joining us live now via Zoom is Evan Axelbank, reporter with Fox 13 Tampa Bay. And Evan, I know this is something that you've been talking to lawmakers today and trying to see what the conversation is around some pieces of legislation.
Yeah, and so right now it's not clear that the shooting is going to change much around the bills that have been considered and are being considered in the state legislature. There are 4 bills that I can count that have something at least tangentially to do with school safety. The one that everyone talks about most often is the bill to lower the age for gun purchases of certain guns from 21 back to 18. Obviously, the state reformed its gun laws after the Parkland shooting and raised the age of some gun purchases from 18 to 21. Now some lawmakers want to roll it back. Obviously, Florida, at least in terms of the legislature, is very gun friendly. And this is something that's been a priority for the gun lobby for years. The House has passed that version or has passed that proposal. The House has passed it, but right now it does not appear that the Senate is going to be taking it up. They before this shooting, the final arrangements on committee hearings had already been made, and it appears those arrangements are not going to be changing despite this shooting. So the Senate has for several years blocked the rolling back of that Marjorie Stoneman Douglas inspired rule. And it appears that is going to be the same this year. Senate President Ben Albritton is certainly a friend to the NRA in many respects, and believes strongly in, what conservatives call the Second Amendment protections. But in this case, it appears that he is not going to be revising his stance to lower the gun purchasing limit from 21 back to 18. So that is one bill that's gotten the most attention. And then, of course, the other bill is whether guns should be carried on college campuses. That was laid on the table, meaning that it is not going to go forward several weeks ago. That bill was sponsored by state Senator Randy Fine. Randy Fine did not, and I think he admits this, did not build up a huge bucket of friends in Tallahassee, and it appears that that the bill did not have enough support to move forward. It was tabled in one of the committees. It was not reported favorably, and that was the end of the line for that bill. So those are the two big bills that have to do with gun rights and gun safety that have been taken up by the legislature. And it appears that both of those are going to be, at this point, not moving forward.
But Evan, we also know there are a couple of others, including one about cell phone use in schools. Yeah. Talk to us about that one.
Yeah, and so it appears that bill does have a lot of support, and that bill appears to be moving forward at this point. The bill would allow students to still carry their cell phones on campus, but it would ban their use when they are in school. Now, obviously, we're talking about high school and below. We're not talking about college students. I mean, right? College students have a right to carry a cell phone and use a cell phone whenever they want. But in high school, teachers and administrators have found that cell phones are a problem. They increase the potential for bullying. They increase distractions for students. They make it much more difficult for teachers to get their kids focused on the lessons at hand. And so what they've done is basically say there are going to be there are going to be zones for using your cell phone in schools that you can use with a teacher's or administrator's permission. But you cannot simply whip your phone out in class and start using it and texting people and whatever it is kids these days do on cell phones. So that bill does appear to be moving forward. It passed unanimously in the House. The Senate does seem likely to take it up over the next few days. So it appears that cell phone use in schools, of course, high school and below, will be banned. Now, that being said, the bill does not ban their possession in school. And so certainly if, we can't even think about it, God forbid, there is a terrible incident happening at school, I certainly any student would pull their phone out and let their parents know how they're doing. And it seems like that's still going to be possible because, again, the possession of cell phones would not be banned.
Evan, I know you talked with some lawmakers. Are these conversations about some of these things happening yet, or is it still about these policies or about potentially others? Are these conversations that are happening yet, or is it still kind of too soon to know what the impact is going to be?
They're always happening. I mean, right? Like, this is politics, and you can't take politics out of politics. So the conversations are always happening, but many of the decisions have already been made, and many of the people's viewpoints in this case have already been hardened. And so I hate to say it, it's not the first time we've been through a school shooting here in the state of Florida. It just depends on how far back you want to go, but there have been a number of them at this point. And certainly with mass shootings, they happen just about every week in Florida and in many states. So at this point, the decisions have generally been made around these bills. There is one bill that I do want to talk about that's also moving forward. And that bill has passed in the Senate. It's expected to be taken up in the House. And that bill beefs up some training requirements. It beefs up some communications requirements around panic buttons and mapping and things like that during a critical incident. And so that bill is one that has very wide support, just as the student a ban of cell phones in schools, unanimously passed the House. This one is also very popular. And the thinking is that it is going to get a hearing in the House and eventually a floor vote in the House. There are lots of components to this bill, but again, it beefs up training for school guardians and school guards. And it also requires certain types of panic buttons and mapping and other things in schools that could help authorities respond to critical incidents.
All right, interesting stuff there to keep an eye on in Tallahassee. Fox 13's Evan Axelbank, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon here on Florida Live.
That's always my joy.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon live on Fox Local and also on YouTube as we continue to track the fallout from yesterday's shooting on Florida State's campus. We are also learning more about some of the victims and those who specifically lost their lives on the campus yesterday. Joining us live now via Zoom is Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, who had the chance, Randy, I know, to speak to a friend of one of those victims. What have you learned? What are you able to share with us this afternoon?
So yes, I had a chance to speak with Carlos Cruz within the last 30 minutes, and it was a heavy conversation, obviously, because of the weight of what we are dealing with, but in the tone and watching him describe his friend Robert Morales, you could see that he was still processing all of this. He talked about their relationship meeting while Mr. Morales was in school at FSU, and Mr. Cruz was also in school at FSU, and he says they're both of Cuban descent, and so they're both from South Florida, and just kind of you meet someone and you just kind of vibe. And he says that they met. They had similar backgrounds, and it was pretty much an instant connection. And they have been friends or had been friends for over 30 years. And he described Mr. Morales as a taller man who kind of towered over his friend group, but a very calming and loving presence. He says that he was a great husband, a wonderful dad, and was really, in many senses, a father figure to a lot of the students on campus and in and around Tallahassee. Not a couple years back in the 90s, after his time at FSU, he opened a restaurant, Gordo's. And as I was looking on social media, a lot of people, as the news was developing and we were starting to learn more about the victims, a lot of people were reposting stories about him saying, I knew that name sounded familiar. I knew that that face looked familiar because I remember going to eat at his restaurant when I was in school or traveling through Tallahassee. he wasn't working with that restaurant anymore. He had transitioned to work with dining services at the university, and so was well known by students on campus. And Mr. Cruz said he was often interacting with students on campus to make sure that they had a great dining experience. So someone who was certainly loved, and people are still processing that loss.
And certainly understandable. It's the kind of thing that just you cannot prepare for no matter what. Certainly understand them still processing that and dealing with that. And he was also a former high school coach.
I did learn that late this afternoon, a Leon High School posted about him working with their football team. I believe he was a special teams coach and was not working with them anymore, but they talked about the impact of this loss. And you can see that this was someone who was well plugged into the community. So when we talk about this loss, so many people are feeling this across Tallahassee.
And Randy, as well, he leaves behind a family.
Yes, he was married, has one daughter. That's according to his friend. And I did get a chance to speak briefly by text with his brother, who said that he is on his way to Tallahassee and hoping to connect with him based on his availability. But he mentioned that, also in a post on social media, talked about their relationship and how special of a man Mr. Morales was. When I spoke with his friend, he said that he had just reconnected with his brother, and they were working to build their relationship that they, had just kind of grown apart over the years, and so was excited about building this relationship with his brother. And it's just devastating to know just in an instant everyone's worlds who were close to Mr. Morales have changed.
Yeah, just in an instant. We learned this afternoon the new information, the new timeline from Tallahassee police saying that the entire incident lasted less than 5 minutes. And yet this is going to be a lifetime of pain and hurt for these loved ones, specifically of Robert Morales, who we're learning more about today.
Absolutely. And you also have to think about, I did also attend the news conference at the hospital
Yeah.
this afternoon, and you think about the Morales's family, and then also talking with the doctors who responded to this tragedy. As those who were shot weren't killed but were shot, were taken for treatment. And the doctors talked about talking with the students, and they said they were coherent and were able to explain what had just happened to them, because doctors have to talk through, see where they are mentally as in a situation like this. But the doctors were saying they could still feel the shock of the students processing that they had just been shot.
Yeah, I thought it was striking to hear them talk about how they said they were clearly still trying to process that, were obviously in shock, yet they were clear-minded, and I thought it was striking to hear him say very, very brave as well.
Absolutely. Um, and I hesitate to say good news, but it is good news in all of this. Officials say that potentially 2 of the victims should be released today. We know that in total 6 were treated at the hospital, and they were not clear about if one of the gunshot injuries is that of the suspect. But we know that in total they treated 6. We know on the campus 5 people were shot and then taken to the hospital and treated, in addition to one person who was injured, not shot, but injured in all of this. And so it is comforting to hear that the 2 are expected to get out today, and that doctors say that those who were injured or shot are expected to make a full recovery.
And then a vigil on campus at 5 o'clock.
Yes, that is set for 5 o'clock, and we will be in place for that. It is off Langston. Let me double check. It is near the state stadium on campus. It is at Langford Green, excuse me, and it's in front of the Unconquered statue. And I was doing a little bit of research about this statue in particular. And on the website, it talked about the significance of the statue. So I imagine just the importance of doing it there. And on the website, it talked about this statue celebrates the human spirit that will not be defeated. And you think about what everyone on this campus has gone through, what the families of those people on campus have gone through, and the human spirit of wanting to continue to prevail despite tragedy. I imagine that will be part of the message tonight, but we will be in place for that.
A fitting symbolism, that's for sure. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon, and appreciate your reporting.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back after this. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local, fox13news.com, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. This morning, Tallahassee Police Chief Lawrence Revelle joined live now from Fox to break down the police department's initial response to yesterday's shooting. He said first responders were on the scene within 2 minutes of the first calls to 911, something that we saw with some of that new timeline from Tallahassee Police. I want to play for you this interview with with Live Now's Josh Breslow with Tallahassee Police Chief Lawrence Revelle.
You know, just like anyone else, the initial reaction is oh my God, no, not here, not anywhere. That was certainly my first reaction, and then you immediately hope that these things never happen, but when they do happen, you immediately move into that response mode. Your heart immediately goes out to all the victims, the students and everyone involved in this. But you very quickly transition in our profession to the response and making sure that we get there and make everybody safe as quickly as we possibly can.
And we know that we heard from several officials just yesterday, from students as well, who said the response was very quick from law enforcement. Obviously, all of this happening not too long ago. So I did want to ask you your overall impression of your department's response to this. How do you feel about it?
I could not be more proud of the men and women of the Tallahassee Police Department, as well as FSU's police department, and then all of our federal, state, and local partners. This was really a seamless collaboration that came together, like you said, incredibly quickly. Our response time was within 2 minutes of the initial call going out, and the entire incident was over within 5 minutes. And then, of course, the follow-up of clearing buildings and all that goes into that, making sure there aren't other shooters and all. That process then takes place. So that doesn't occur without the relationships that we built with, again, all of those partners, our federal, state, and local partners, making sure that we're training not only as an individual agency, but that we're training with all of our first responders, our medical personnel, our fire department. We train with them on a yearly basis and make sure that we look at how do we handle these types of scenes. And as I was responding and as I was running into the middle of that yesterday at the very beginning, I saw teams of officers with rifles and helmets, running into buildings with that element of the other first responders, the paramedics, and the EMS personnel embedded in those teams. And so that's exactly what we train for. And in those type of situations, to see that come into play without hesitation, I could not be more proud of the response from yesterday.
It's important to note, I spoke with several different former retired law enforcement officers yesterday, and one of the first things they mentioned, which is interesting, is the fact that, and not a lot of people realize this, you're running into danger because you're getting to a scene so quickly, and there's really a question about, well, who has a weapon, all of that really. So can you kind of describe that to me as your officers are running into danger?
Yeah, they absolutely are. I mean, there's so many unknowns running into these situations, and especially on a campus setting where there are so many buildings and so many rooms and so many kids, running all over the place. You really have no idea who is friend or foe in that type of situation. So again, you have to train for those situations and be prepared for that. That's why we go in teams, but we don't hesitate. We go in immediately, and that's what happened in this case. And although, like I say, the suspect was neutralized within just a few minutes of the first shot ringing out, you don't know if there's other shooters. We certainly, in all of these type situations, you get reports of other shooters, things happening in other areas. We had one of the initial report, which we disproved pretty quickly, but that, one of the active shooters was an officer or someone dressed in a uniform. And so you always get that type of information that comes in on these, and you have to go and prove or disprove those as quickly as you can. But like you say, you just don't know. And you're going into buildings, you're running through open areas with people running all over the place. And that's just what the men and women in law enforcement do. They understand that challenge. They take that risk every single day, but especially in these type situations. And again, the men and women of our agency, of FSU PD, as well as all of our other partners, just responded heroically.
One thing I do want to talk about is, of course, this active investigation. So I know you can't say too much, but I did want to ask, do officers, investigators there have any idea of a possible motive right now in this shooting? But also, is this suspect known to police? Is this somebody that you heard of before?
To the first part of your question, we have not been able to establish any type of motive in this situation. The suspect initially decided not to talk to us, so we didn't get anything from that. And through our investigative efforts and our analysis of all the social media and everything, we have not been able to determine any type of motive to this point for his actions. It's as the investigation goes on, obviously we hope to uncover that.
And on that same note here, do you happen to know, and again, I know this is an active investigation, only certain information can be released, but if this was a targeted incident or if possibly the suspect knew who he was going for?
Yeah, again, we've made no connection between him and even one of the victims, much less a group of them. There's no known connection between him and any one of them or even them with each other. So we have not made that connection in any way, shape, or form yet.
Does social media make it maybe a little bit tougher for the department, really not just your department, but everyone responding when you have that information that's floating around and only a percentage of it is accurate? Does that make it a little more difficult for you and your department and other law enforcement?
It certainly makes it more difficult. That's just more that we have to follow up on, more that we have to follow through with. At the same time, the community input, see something, say something, truly matters. And so, we encourage everybody to put that information out. But when you get the speculation, when you certainly get the false videos and things that always come in, the false leads that come in all the time in these types of situations, it truly ties up resources that could be more effectively used to further the investigation. So it's a balance between needing that information from the community and the community coming forward and helping us figure out all of these things that we need to know, and those that are just slowing down the investigation.
My last question here before I let you go, did want to ask, is there any message that you want to get across to the people there, maybe FSU students and staff, the people of Tallahassee, Florida, as, again, this investigation is underway?
No, I very much appreciate that question. What I want to say to FSU and to the students is my heart personally breaks for each and every one of you. Our community, the Tallahassee Police Department, this is a fabulous community. The FSU community is a fabulous community. We have FAMU right here in this community as well. All of our hearts break for you, and all of our hearts go out to each of the family members of the victims, certainly the two that are deceased, as well as all the other students and families that will be forever impacted by these actions. Our hearts go out to you. What I want to say is something we always say here at the Tallahassee Police Department, and that is we are here for you. And I'll continue to say that. That is who we are. We are here for this community. This is a fabulous community. And the TPD family is here for you.
Thanks for watching Florida Live. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We've continued to get reaction from a number of officials all across Florida to this shooting yesterday on Florida State's campus. Earlier on Good Day Orlando, Fox 35 had the chance to speak with Attorney General James Othmeyer and ask him about his reaction to the shooting and also the next steps in the case when it comes to the investigation. Here's what he said.
I can't reveal too much more than what seems to already be publicly reported. I think everybody knows by now that this was indeed the son of a deputy sheriff here in Leon County. Motive, it's going to take us a while to figure that out, but 2 deceased, several injured. Thanks be to God that it wasn't worse. And I have to commend our first responders. Their response on the scene was absolutely incredible, getting there within minutes and eliminating the danger that was there. Going into Easter weekend here, we're relieved to hear that people are leaving the hospital. Schools are closed, athletics is off for the weekend, and our victims' rights advocates are going to be on campus today, just providing an opportunity for people that want to come in, that want to converse, that want to just be with other people and talk about what happened. This was a scary incident. You had students locked in rooms for hours upon hours. As you mentioned, they left belongings behind, and today everybody's just trying to come together and get back to normal life and be together in this time of pain. Yeah, so the local state attorney here, he will be bringing the charges in this case, working hand in hand with both local and state law enforcement on the investigation, as well as the federal government if needed. They're working very well. I've been impressed with the response and the investigation that's already underway, and I assume we will have more information available to the public in just days to come.
In Polk County earlier today, Sheriff Grady Judd was also holding a news conference about arrests in an alleged liquor theft ring. He was also asked about the mass shooting, and here's a little bit of what he had to say.
I'm also a commissioner on the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Commission that investigated that horrible shooting of those beautiful children and staff members. And I can tell you the systems and the processes have greatly improved in the state of Florida because of, once again, the legislature and then our governor, currently our senator, our U.S. senator, they acted very quickly. To have one person injured or killed with an active shooter is too much. But look how quickly the intervention came and the remarkable work by the law enforcement officers in Tallahassee. My heart breaks for anyone who lost their life or were injured or emotionally scarred from this. There's always going to be evil among us, but there are good people doing good things, and there are heroes among us that will run in, and we're teaching and coaching. This is the new normal. There's going to be evil people that want to hurt people, and now they have social media, and if you can't be famous, you can always be infamous. And someone said, well, they got mental health problems. I've heard that over, and they got mental health problems. Well, of course they do. Normal people don't shoot people, and certainly normal people don't grab guns and actively go on a rampage. They all have issues. They all have a hitch in their giddy up. None of their brain cells are working right to do that. But the reality of it is, as horrible as it was yesterday, I look at the bright side and say, how much worse could it have been, except for those wonderful men and women that raced in to protect. Then the thing that I think just crushes everyone's soul is the Leon County deputy who for 18 years has stood in the gap between good and evil and done what was right, and was currently a school resource officer, as I'm told, the one that will stand in the gap and run into the danger to protect children. It was a child that she apparently adopted at some point in time that did this. It crushes you for anyone to do it, but I think it's a clear illustration that it doesn't make any difference. No one is above the possibility that someone in your family can do something like this.
Sheriff Grady Judd reacting to some of the details, and we are learning more this afternoon about this shooting suspect. We'll have more coverage coming up on Fox 35 News Plus in a little bit. And again, that vigil at 5.